Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting for today, September 11th, for the Village of Lannon to order at 6:45 p.m. Roll call. Rainier here. Martin here. Reek
Here.
and Yates.
Here.
Thank you. Brenda sent an email regarding the bills. She's not here tonight. And so I will read what she said. Here is my summary for the payment of the bills. Most are routine monthly payments. The two that jump out at me are the Baker Tilly bill, which includes a past due balance from earlier in the year. A check was cut, but never received or cleared by our bank. The other is Scott Balliser. Is it Balsinger? Sigger, thank you, which is the down payment for the work he has done on the generator. He expects to complete hookup this weekend, but needs to shut the building down to do so. Also, Menards are past due invoices that were never received by us from May, June, and July for miscellaneous park/building supplies. Anybody have any other questions?
Don't see anything else that jumps
Stands out, yeah. Everything's pretty in line with it usually is. Wonder why our invoices weren't getting from Menard and
I think it's
Baker Tilly.
post office thing.
So. Okay,
Well, apparently Baker Tilly, they never got the check, although it was cut.
yeah. I'll make a motion that we pay the bills as presented by our clerk.
There's a motion and a second to pay the bills as presented by the clerk. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Evening, everyone. I would like to call the Village of Lannon Joint Village Board and Planning Commission meeting to order from Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Please rise, take off your hats and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sitting on the agenda tonight that I'd like to ask that we all take a moment of silence in honor of Patriot Day today and all the heroes and civilians that lost their lives there. Thank you. Roll call, Calatola Roby.
Here.
Rainier.
Here.
Blake.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Nellis. Here. Reek.
Here.
Yates is here. Planning Commission. Yates is present. Lake.
Here.
Nellis. Here. Janice.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Grimm.
Here.
Kay Lightner.
Here.
All present. Statement of public notice. Thank you. Item number 5, public hearing for the FEMA floodplain ordinance. I would like to open the public hearing for that item and ask if there are any comments from the public regarding our adoption of the FEMA floodplain and ordinance. Yes, sir.
This is for Mr. Wood. The maps themselves, the ordinance makes reference to the map. Where are they kept?
FEMA keeps those maps. You're talking about the ones that delineate the
Correct.
floodplain itself?
Zone area.
Are you talking about zoning areas within the village specifically?
The areas controlled by the ordinance in the village specifically. In other words, if I were a new resident or someone doing remodeling,
Yeah,
and I was wondering whether my project would be impacted by the floodplain maps,
yeah,
where would I go?
yeah, that's a great question. I would probably refer to FEMA map. One thing about the village's zoning ordinance is the village's zoning map is that it does show where different floodplains were, but we haven't updated the zoning ordinance. It treats floodplain as an overlay district. We haven't updated the zoning map to reflect where specifically overlaying on the village land use, where the floodplain overlay exists.
And in light of the new FEMA maps for Waukesha County, is that something that is a high priority, medium priority, or low priority for the village from your perspective?
From my perspective, updating that should be done, but it's low priority.
Thank you.
Simply because when it's helpful if someone wants to get a general idea. But we always check Waukesha County GIS as kind of the first resource to point people to before having to dig too far. So I could verify with the county that the new flood mapping is indeed reflected as the FEMA layer on the Waukesha County GIS. But whether it's wetlands or floodplain, the county itself does a pretty good job keeping up with that. So if someone came in and wanted to pull a building permit or something like that, honestly, that's probably, now that I think about it, that's probably the first place that they check. Rather than giving someone like me a call. And if they did call me, that would be the first place I would check.
Are you referring to the maps at the bottom of page 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, those, I was on the FEMA site today just to look at the maps. The existing maps are still 2014 and they have proposed maps, the new maps that are in there. And so I just wanted to take a look at the differences to see if there's any changes along the whole floodplain. And they're they seem to be pretty similar.
Great. Thank you.
And it's FEMA.gov and you can just put in Waukesha County and those maps will come up for land.
Do we have any other comments or questions regarding the FEMA ordinance amendment? In that case, I will close the public hearing and ask the planning commission for a recommendation regarding the FEMA floodplain ordinance.
I make a motion to recommend to the village board to approve the FEMA floodplain ordinance. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I will ask for the village board members for action on the recommendation from the planning commission.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation from the planning commission for the floodplain ordinance for the village of Land.
Second.
We have a motion by Reed, second by Grenier. I heard, right? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our second item will be a public hearing for code enforcement procedure ordinance. You care to give them background on this one, or should we just open this? Okay, we'll just open the public hearing then for the ordinance enforcement procedure. Ask if anyone in attendance, any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
Are they gonna update the complaint form on the website? To take out a lot of that stuff, like who we should go to and all that, and just make it straight? Formal complaint that you just then can be dropped off at the police department or the village hall? To be given to the police, right now it says, do you want it to go to this committee, that committee, this committee, and all that, you know, are they gonna, you know, rearrange that and just kind of make it a little bit straightforward? So we don't have to, so the person making the complaint doesn't have to figure out what the violation ordinance is. They can just say, hey, this guy's got 10,000 junk cars in his backyard, you know.
Sure. Yeah, or some way to clarify.
Clarify
that
it,
If
so
they
it's-
don't know which one, to just leave them blank. and
Yep.
Somebody else will.
If you take a look at the complaint form now, it needs to be simplified.
When we did that form some years ago, it was based that the village clerk would fill it out based on a complaint.
Right, somebody walks in, makes a
Yeah.
complaint, or would fill it out, and they presumably know
To send it,
what authority it should
correct.
get it attributed to. Yeah, that's good feedback, thank you. You have any other comments or questions regarding the code enforcement ordinances?
The electronic piece of this, is it all set and done, or is it some work have to be done to get this completed?
There's there's a little bit of cleanup and some tweaking of the form, but the base structure has been constructed, but some of the functionality, I think we're gonna work through that process as we
Trial
start
and
to
error
build
kind
it
of thing.
out. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, conceptually, we have it, I think, at a pretty solid point, but a few simple additions of some columns and some fields. Just, again, we want to make sure that everything's getting annotated and tracked, and, you know, we're attributing who's the responsible parties are and when and all that kind of stuff. So I think that may be a somewhat fluid document for a period of time until we come to a stabilized format. But that's a document that has been shared with the necessary people that lives on the village. Is that the one cloud or OneDrive or whatever for the village? Use the Microsoft.
yeah, the OneDrive.
Yeah, so it's a shared document and access privileges have been granted to the appropriate folks. That includes editing as well. Any other comments, questions? And then I will close the public hearing for the code enforcement procedure ordinance and ask for a recommendation from the plan commission.
I'll make a motion to send to the village board the plan commission law enforcement, code enforcement procedure.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll ask for a village board action.
I make motion to accept the recommendation from the plan commission for the code enforcement procedure ordinance.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion
I
from
have
the
a
village
question.
board?
I have a question.
Yes.
On page 4, number 2, it says the village clerk must provide written notice to the property owner. Is that also gonna be by return receipt? So we know the property owner at least got it.
I believe that the intent there was simply to reach out. It's not a legal step, but it's something that would enable, for if they we tried to get the property owner here to attend and be heard before it was committed to some kind of prosecution, either municipal court or circuit.
So we don't need to have any,
I don't believe.
okay. Just a question I have.
Yeah, they're kind of escalating, they're meant to be escalating steps in the process, kind of a progressive system, so it's a good question though. Any other questions from the village board? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, public hearing for amendment to accessory structure ordinances. I will. Can I have Ben give his comments and background during that, or?
Yes.
So I will open the public hearing for that and ask Mr. Wood to refresh everyone's memory and bring the attendees up to speed on that.
Sure. So the whole premise for the ordinance amendment has to do with the size of garage that residents or residential properties can have in the village. Right now, the accessory ordinance structure in a residential area limits the size of an accessory structure like a detached garage to 800 square feet total. However, for any new construction in the village or anyone that wants to go back and try to construct an attached garage, there basically is no limit as to how large that garage can be. And a lot of the older housing stock in the village was built with rather smallish garages. 1.5, 2 small 2-car garages. And the standard today for a new construction 2-car garage is, easily up to 1,200 square feet or somewhere in a much larger realm. So one thing that's been coming up and someone communicated to President Yates, they have a desire to build a garage. They have a 500 or 600 square foot garage right now. Why would you go through all the expense of just adding on another 200 square feet? If you're going to go through all that expense, you want to tear it down. If you're going to do all that, why would you only build something that's 800 square feet, et cetera, et cetera. So what we wanted to try to do is at least give folks that do not have an attached garage an opportunity to build a bigger detached garage or structure if they want. So right now, the ordinance limits accessory structures to the total number of 2 and a combined square foot area of 800 square feet. Now that applies whether, so if you have a detached garage, that includes your garage. If you have an attached garage, you can separately have 2 accessory structures up to 800 square feet. So what the ordinance amendment does in effect is say for folks that do not have a detached garage, you can have a detached garage plus 2 other accessory structures up to 800 square feet. So every single family house in the village gets to have a garage plus 2 accessory structures up to 800 square feet. Now there's some crafty language to the ordinance that tries to make sure that for properties to which this applies, where you have a detached garage, only one structure can be larger than 800 square feet. And the other 2 structures cannot be a combined greater than 800 square feet. And this has been through Plan Commission and Legislative Committee now. And where it sits, a couple of key characteristics of properties that this would apply to are how many total square feet, what's the max? I believe the Plan Commission stated 2,000, maybe, but it came out of Legislative Committee at 2,200 square feet. Plan Commission put a limit on it that said this will apply to properties that were constructed 2020 or prior. Legislative said 2022 or prior. I don't think there's a big difference there in effect. Now, of course, as part of that, and this gets to this board that I'm holding, there's hopefully some concern about, well, what does 2,200 square feet of accessory structure look like in some of these older neighborhoods where, yeah, they might need a bigger garage, but those are smaller lots. So there's another limit to the maximum area that's already in the ordinance, and that's the rear yard area ratio. Your accessory structures in total cannot exceed 30% of the area of your rear yard. So I know that's probably hard to visualize. So what I did here is I drew up, these are, I measured up 2 properties on Lannon Road. Kind of larger properties, their backyards are each, 14,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet. They'll bump up against that 2,200 square foot max limit. The bottom image here is 4 houses that back up to each other in the lake vine area. So 4 properties measured up each of their backyards anywhere from 7,500 square feet, 5,700 square feet, 6,500 square feet. And those properties would run into the area ratio, the 30% area ratio first. So that would limit on the smaller end to about 1,700 square feet of total accessory structure area in the rear yard. So hopefully my explanation did make that more complicated than necessary. That's the intent of the ordinance amendment. It's really only adding, in effect, 1 paragraph to the ordinance that makes way for folks with a detached garage to have a 3rd accessory structure and have a larger area. Any questions?
Yeah, Ben, can you just define to me how you define the rear yard area?
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit vague. I just use my discretion, so no offense to the crowd, I'm gonna just show this to the board here first. So a couple of these properties already have a garage. And I just called everything behind the garage the rear yard. This property, well, and I should say, these 2 garages are kind of set forward or like along the side of the house. So for the folks on the planning commission and the crowd, I'm talking about these 2 properties here. You can see the house is actually here and here, but the garage is a little bit forward. So I just drew that line as anything behind the garage. For these other 2 properties back here, the garage is already in the backyard or further back of the rear of the house. So I just drew the line in line with the rear of the house. So that was just my opinion of it. There's no fine way of doing that.
When you're figuring the 30%, okay, from the back of the house to the back lot, like you subtracted all the offsets and then figured out the 30%?
I did not subtract the offsets.
Okay, because the offsets would make a difference.
The way that I saw it is that, okay, so the setbacks that you're talking about have to deal with placement, but they're still part of the total area.
Okay, so you're,
So these are, it's like a 10-foot stretch, right, to the sides and the rear.
Is his dog with him?
so you want, when people configure their yard, they don't have to worry about the offset, it's just gonna be 30% of the back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
just clarification.
But they still have to conform to the.
Right.
Right, they have to perform the setback when they build.
Right. And so the way that this is gonna get fleshed out really is someone's gonna pull a building permit and say, great, I'm gonna build this big garage. The building inspector is gonna look at it. And he's gonna ask me to calculate it. And if it's a gray area or a gray issue, then we'll probably bring it to plan commission. if it's close or something like that.
Not gonna have a lot of this.
Right,
Yeah, it's gonna be fairly limited, but. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments after the explanation from Mr. Wood?
I suppose in addition to facilitating a convenience for people who own older homes, it also increases the tax base to the extent that larger garage can be.
sure. Yep. And it does, as I expanded on at a past plan commission meeting and doing some research for this, I realized there's a couple legal non-conforming situations out there. And of course, there's a whole nother set of ordinances that govern that. So this also takes a handful of structures that are legal non-conforming and makes them just conforming.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a recommendation from the planning commission.
I'll make a recommendation to the village board from the plan commission that we approve ordinance number 23-4. Dealing in section 78-48 as presented.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll ask for action from the village board.
I'll make a motion, we approve the ordinance as presented from the plan commission.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the village board? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of possible action by the plan commission on a signed permit application for Kelly's Rock Solid Storage, Town Line Road, Landon, Wisconsin. 53046, and I believe there is an amendment that Mr. Wood can go through, and I want to just make a note that I am recusing myself from this item.
All right, this particular sign is going on the end of one of the buildings in conducting my review just this afternoon. The ordinance would call this a wall sign. That already has a ground sign, kind of just a little bit closer to the roadway that was previously approved. You're allowed 2 signs per property, so no problem there. Wall signs are limited in area to a calculation of 1 times the length of the building frontage. This building is 20 feet wide, so as originally submitted, the sign area was actually 23 square feet, which was a little bit over. So there's a revised submittal this afternoon where basically this is the exact same look, lettering, everything, just shrunk down slightly so that it's now 40 by 60. Which is 16 or 17 square feet.
What is this max metal? Is that aluminum?
It's an aluminum composite too.
And how are the stickers gonna stick on there for a long time and fade?
Good.
Are you gonna hang the sign with that new ladder band that you got there? We're giving you a hard time there. We give it.
No, I don't, we'll need that for that, but yeah, this will be a long-term outdoor durable. It's black in color, so it'll resist fading. But eventually everything fades.
I would recommend though that we have a phone number on it. Primarily for emergency situations, because this is gated. And although we normally require that they provide a gate code or a key card to the police department. And also the fire department, you're gonna have Waukesha County or maybe an ambulance or something like that showing up there. And it's gonna be locked.
That's a QR code which takes them to the website. Presumably they will have a phone number on there, but they didn't have the actual website public at the time of.
I wonder if that as an option could also be appropriate as a separate sign. Signs
Could be.
under, is it under 2 square feet?
Could be on the gate. On the
Just
base
a
of the
little
gate.
information thing.
Yeah, 2 square feet.
Yep, by the key thing.
And I only suggest that because presumably he only has a QR code because he doesn't want to be taking a bunch of phone calls. And so you'd want a phone number kind of distinctly separate from kind of a advertising sales.
I would think so, but I can't really, I'm not in a position to comment on how he intends to operate his business.
Well, the phone number is not required on the sign. I mean, I acknowledge Jerry has a very good idea there for emergency contact, but they can't make him put his phone number on there if he doesn't want to. It's not a requirement, so.
Perhaps maybe the plan commission might consider approving the sign with a recommendation. That there be a posting on a separate sign visible to any emergency personnel. With a call for an emergency, and it should be designated as such. I don't believe that as a condition of approving and otherwise permissible sign, that the plan commission or the village for that matter can impose an additional content element on the sign.
So you're saying we should make a recommendation that he had to do that?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the sign, the Kelly Rock Storage scan and rate amended to the size of 40 by 60 inches, 40 inches by 60 inches. And that we suggest to him that he has posting a phone number near the gate for emergency use. Or if whatever use.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Only thing is, just spell it correctly. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's correct.
Availability.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you know, that's pretty good. Fast.
You available for hire?
Yeah.
Second, have to make the sign bigger.
Pretty funny enough. But not. Okay, we have a motion, a second, we had some discussion and corrections. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yates abstains.
Make a motion to adjourn for the plan commission.
The motion to adjourn
Second,
and a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Planning Commission is adjourned. You're welcome to stay should you choose to. Otherwise, thank you very much for your service. Item number 10. Item number 10, discussion possible action on the reading correction and approval of the minutes from the 8/14/23 village board meeting.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 8/14/23.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the 8/14/23 village board meeting that's submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, committee reports. Finance and personnel,
It'll be covered as item 20.
thank you. Legislative,
Nothing today.
thank you. Item C, parks and recreation beautification.
We called a meeting for the 20th, to meet on some items. And, the trees were taken down in the park this afternoon by Cut and Goes, so. I didn't get a chance to drive by, but I look forward to seeing that tomorrow. And they are gonna be providing us with wood chips for the lions to use. And if we ever want wood chips here that we can offer free to the public, they'd be willing to do that.
Excellent. Public safety.
Updated certificate of insurance.
Do we need one? I didn't know we were missing one.
Well, the last one we got was outdated. The Wisconsin was outdated and it didn't have additional insurance on it.
That must have happened at the last meeting.
No, we had. We approved it with that pending. Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know about that.
And we'll have to follow up with Brenda to make sure we got that. Public safety,
Nothing to report.
public works, recycling, sewer.
Further discussion on item number 14 and 16.
Thank you. Corey,
Nothing yet, that's fine.
department reports, clerk's office. I think Brenda left a few notes for us.
ACH payments, for the utility bills should be processed this week. We had a meeting with the bank earlier last week, so we can finally process those. The software update is getting closer to being complete. Budget meetings will be scheduled in the next couple of weeks. And the fire protection fees, via the PSC were backbilled and payments have been coming in as long as, phone calls.
Thank you, Nicole. Police department.
The police department will be participating in a couple of upcoming events. October 28th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. both of them. One is the trunk or treat for Waukesha County. So various county agencies have their police departments represented in a opportunity for kids to safely trick or treat out of the trunks of squad cars. That's going to be held at the Waukesha Expo Center 10 to 2 on October 28th. And at the same time, we're going to have a drug take back event here at the police department, where we'll take any unwanted pharmaceuticals. And if you can't make it on that day, we always have a drug box here available for use.
Thank you, Steve. All right, item number 13. Citizens' comments. This is meant for public comments on any subject without discussion by the village board of trustee members or action except for possible referral to a governmental body or village agent. Do you have any public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Gloria Tyke, Rockline. At last month's meeting, Mr. the ex-president.
Something.
Don, yeah. Was saying how Rock Point people's dogs were on his property. So, I talked to several people. And it seems like there's a lot of confusion as to who said what, who did what, who didn't do this or that. So I talked to Police Chief Bell, and he asked that I look into it. So I did. So yesterday, I dropped off for private property, no trespassing signs, and he's very happy with that. And as far as I know, we're good to go.
Excellent, thank you. You have any other public comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Graham.
Grim, first off, two items I have. The new website that the village has got looks very nice. The only thing I'd like to do is say, I got maybe some suggestions. Is if they can list all the past meetings in the reverse order that they are, so like the newest one is at the top instead of way down at the bottom. And if, since the village board all has, email addresses, if they can make those, linked. So people can link onto them, like they can link onto, the attorney's phone number, or the engineer's phone number, or the village clerk's phone number. If you can also link the board members' email address, makes it a lot easier than you're typing it out wrong 3 times.
Or copy and paste. or-
Yeah, copy
It's
page.
just a clickable link and it'll just bring up.
If they can make that both, and then, on the first front page, the business of the month has been there since July, it's now, late September, middle of September, if you can update the business once in a while. And my second item I want to bring up is, I see you got trick or treat thing on the schedule here. I just want to point out that Landon seems to always want to do it on a Sunday. Well, Sussex, Lisbon, Butler, Richfield, Cedarburg, Pewaukee, all them around us are all doing it on a Saturday. You know, and that's, and then the only ones that are doing it on Maui Falls, Brookfield, and Germantown do it on Halloween Day always. So I think Landon would now move to a Saturday, and with all the rest of these communities around here, and being consistent with them, and maybe even shorten it, you know, by an hour. We don't need that third hour. We handed out approximately 100 pieces to, 100 kids last year, but that last hour we had 3. You know, they just don't come around that last hour. Now, I'm not trying to save 3 helpings for myself. I'm expecting this year to see about 120 kids. You know, I'm already set up for 140, but you know, so the dentist is already looking at his 20 share. So if you guys could look at moving it to Saturday and be consistent with everybody else, even though now I'm hearing about the police department doing their thing at Waukesha, but all these other communities already have their date set for that Saturday, the 28th. So, you know, yeah. We brought this up last year, it was too late to make the change, but really appreciate if you guys would really consider the 28th this year. You know, follow on that Saturday, and that way we won't interrupt the Packer game.
Now we get it.
Yeah. There was a reason.
Spring Ridge Estates in
Thank you.
Northville that do Saturday also, but we do 4 to 6, I think, more than night versus the afternoon.
Any other public comments? Yeah. Nothing. All right, item 14, discussion of possible action on snow removal contract for 2023-2024.
Okay, Brad, if you don't mind, Patrick.
Thank you.
D'Angelo's, the current snowplow contractor, has extended his contract at the same rate for 2023-2024. As you all know, in the past, we've had some problems with the Angeles not accepting responsibility for yard and sign damage. For that reason, I would kind of put him on the back burner. We've had some interest from the town of Lisbon that would want to do our roads. However, with the experience we had with Menominee Falls in the past, Lannon at the point would be the last on the list. They would take care of their current streets, which I don't blame them, first, and satisfy their own residents first. When we were contracted with Menominee Falls, there had been occasion that we didn't get our streets plowed until mid-morning and sometimes later. For that reason, I would put them on the back burner. I reached out to 3 individuals regarding the snowplow contract and received back just the 2, DeAngelis and Snow Patrol. You've got the Snow Patrol contract proposal in front of each of you. The proposal is similar in terms and pricing to DeAngelis. What I like about Snow Patrol is that this is what they do exclusively. You've seen them in parking lots where they station and pre-stage equipment in the parking lot. That equipment is dedicated for that facility. They would intend on putting the equipment in the village parking lot and assigning definite people to man that equipment. They would also have, sidewalk service available, which none of the others do. We know that Dennis has expressed his desire to cut back his winter hours. That would cut back on the availability of having our sidewalks taken care of. And if it is true that Dennis wants to do that, that would put more responsibility on Jeff. And I think this is an added advantage if we go with Snow Patrol. There's also a clause in Snow Patrol's proposal that they will repair at no cost to owner any such major curb or turf damage caused by plowing. And this is the one thing we had a problem with DeAngelis. Based on those things, I would recommend to the village board that we accept the Snow Patrol winter management. Excuse me. And that's all I got.
Okay, I think I will make a little bit of clarification, and maybe Jan can help me if I get this wrong, but I think actually. In my conversations with Dennis, I think it's gonna be more of the summer hours that he's looking to cut back, and he's indicated to me that he'll still be available to do plowing in the winter.
Dennis will be doing all the plowing. He never did sidewalks, Jeff always did the sidewalk.
Yeah.
He will continue to do the sidewalk.
Okay. But the intent is that Dennis will still be able to do the lots that he normally does.
All the snow plowing that he did before.
Okay, great. Good, thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept the contract for 2023-2024 snow removal from Snow Patrol as recommended by Ron.
And I will second that. I just have a couple of questions.
Okay, hold on, we have a motion and a second, then now we can open it for other discussion.
Being a city girl, and I'll admit that sidewalks are always the responsibility of the residents. Is that true, people mining?
Yes.
Okay, so what sidewalks are they referring
The
to?
ones in front of Village Hall.
Okay. Then the other thing, when it says lots will be staked, what lots? What are the lots he's referring to?
This is a general contract, and the lot would basically mean the roads that need to be staked. This is a general contract that they use for lot maintenance, parking lot maintenance. This just includes the land and highways.
So if they were doing a Home Depot, it would cover their parking lot. If they were
Okay.
doing Marcus Theater, it would cover their parking lot.
And then, they have on here their certificate of insurance. Have they submitted a certificate of insurance?
They won't do that until the contract's accepted.
And they'll include us as additional insured?
We must include them as additional insured.
Okay, then the other thing on here that my question was, actually two, payment terms net 30 days. Is there any chance that can be stretched out longer because we only see the bills every 30 days?
That's a negotiable item. I don't think there'll be a problem with
Okay.
them for that.
And it says proposal is good until September 1st. Well, today's
Because we
September
put it
11th.
off last month because of my sickness. He has agreed to extend the contract proposal.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Does this include Whispering Ridge Boulevard?
Yes, it will, my dear.
Okay.
Bill Moore.
You mentioned that pricing would be good for 2023 and 2024. I don't know if you have the contract in front of you. But when I went through it, I was at a loss as to the coverage for 2024.
Did you hear that, Ron?
No, I did not. He broke up.
What? Can you point out where in the contract the pricing for 2024 is mentioned? If not, I just recommend that it be added. But the year 2024,
That added to include, it's for the season 2023, 2024.
This is a 3-year contract.
That would be, again, this would be a lot and maintenance agreement. It's not a 3-year for this.
okay,
We
I
don't
just
have
read.
it spelled out.
Okay, I just recommend that be crossed out and that be corrected. Otherwise, no further comments.
Okay, any other discussion regarding the snow contract from Snow Patrol? We've got lots of T's to cross and I's to dot. Before we finalize it, but it sounds like we have a motion to move forward with these guys. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the snow removal contract with Snow Patrol for the 2023-24 season. With all of the aforementioned corrections and considerations accounted for in the final contract. Item 15, discussion possible action on trick or treat and the tree lighting dates. We had a request from the Liz and the LBA. This has been discussed a little bit in public comments by Mr. Grimm. What they are asking for is the same Sunday as the village trick or treating at 1 p.m. Will it be Sunday, October 29th? So that's the requested date or the understood date. And the annual community tree lighting event and party the first Friday in December 1 at 6 p.m. I don't see any need or reason to change that one. Do we want to have some further discussion about the trick or treating? Well,
If I remember correctly, Steve, you recommended last year that we look into possibly doing it on Halloween.
Boy, I don't remember. I could have said that. I don't recall. If
I
I
think we
did.
discuss every year that there could be changes to it and everybody wants to make different.
The only question or only concern I would have with Mr. Grimm's request to do it on Saturday, the 28th of this year, is the fact that Chief Bell has got officers already committed to 2 different locations for 2 different Halloween related items. And if we were to move it this year to the 28th, that may spread him thin or not be able to cover the village for something like this. And whether or not Liz was able to change it. I mean, it's kind of short notice possibly for her to make rearrangements this year. I don't know. That might be a consideration of to think that maybe we just leave it as is for this year, and we have a meeting with her soon to talk about next year, so it's already kind of in her head that it'd be moved to the 28th, and well, whatever the day Saturday would fall on, and also Chief Bell.
Keep it on Saturday the 29th.
Well, I mean, whatever. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I think this year we should probably just keep it as it is, but
Do they still gather at the firehouse ahead of time?
for the parade, they do yeah, the kids do a parade from, I think, the school down to the village hall here.
We always get a mass rush, and then like Mike said, it just dies.
Yeah. So,
And if you did it on Halloween itself, how can you do that?
mhm,
That's a weekday.
right.
Too hard with the kids today. They got sports, they got this, they got that.
Well, it's school night too.
I would be, we can just advertise. Or they get any kids on Sunday.
So maybe we could.
End of the year, I'll say that.
Maybe, I mean, I'm out of touch with it, quite honestly. My kids are grown and gone. And I don't generally get many. I'm thinking I might go to Mike's house myself, and actually get some candy. So,
You're gonna be in costume.
as long as there's not a height restriction, I'm good. But, you know, maybe we, in the interest of gathering some more opinion, maybe we leave it where it is for this year, given some of the points that have been brought up already. But maybe we do a community poll somehow and put it out to the community and see what the community would like to do. I mean, some of the people with the younger kids, the stakeholders, if you will.
We could put it on the website possibly, or
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, we could do put a poll up on the
Or-
website and then put links on Facebook and social media, and we could put something out on Civic Ready and
right,
let people know that it's there. Maybe we put that in the business of the month section on the website, replace that with the poll. For next year.
Right.
And keep everything kind of the way it was originally set for this year. But take some action right away here now, so that we don't find ourselves perpetually in this situation 2 months ahead of time going, well, yeah, but now it's too late.
Chief Bell, your thoughts?
If you were to change it to Saturday, as long as it's after 2 p.m., that wouldn't affect my staffing level at all.
Okay.
I tend to agree with Mike about keeping it consistent with other municipalities, whether it's this year or in future years. I think that's a wise choice to make.
I've always found the day that we did it here odd myself, but
mhm,
You know, Sussex and Lisbon do night trick or treat though too, and I don't think we should do that here. So being the same day doesn't really matter. I got it, Josh, on the video that said that they can hear and you were speaking, and you needed to speak up or make sure that your microphones were turned on. Okay.
okay, thank you.
so I guess I would make a motion that we keep the dates as presented by the LBA. Sunday, October 29th for the trick or treating, and Friday, December 1st for the tree lighting.
And then what are the hours for trick or treating? 1 to.
Parades at noon, I believe. Parades at 1. Parades at 1.
Yep.
And then trick or treating begins at.
It usually goes to about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So you made a motion, Steve, is that correct?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Any other discussion now?
You said 2 to 4 or 2 to 5?
Parade at 1, trick or treat at 4.
2 to 4. Okay, that's one less hour this year.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do we want to talk about the tree?
I have that as a separate item.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Here, I think. Yep, that's the next item. Okay, we have a motion and a second to keep the dates the same, but with some abbreviated trick or treating hours from 2 to 4 on Sunday, October 29th. Tree lighting on December 1st at 6 p.m., which is the first Friday. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, discussion and possible action on the allocation or use of funds to have a Christmas tree brought in for the holiday season. So I asked for this to be put on here because I've received or been questioned numerous times about what we're gonna do now that we've lost our tree out here that we have historically used. As we were having some communications regarding possible options for that, Miss Lake mentioned that she has a tree in her yard that frankly needs to go. And if the village would be willing to cover the cost to have it cut down and have the stump ground, she would donate that tree to the village to use for this year.
And I actually talked to Cut and Go today and they do that for free.
That's a good price.
Right. No, so the tree that I have is a double needle balsam and it was planted too close to other trees. It kind of has grown into them now. So I sent a picture to Cut and Go. They said they'd figure out a way to haul it over here. I can cut it down. It's not a huge tree. It's just transporting it without damaging it. So they said that they'd help with that. We would have to make a stand for it. I don't even think, if we do this November 1st, I don't even think we really have to water the thing. It'll be cut so fresh that we could just do a 2x4, directly to the trunk and create a stand for it. I don't think you would have to have the whole water reservoir and everything. I think it would do just fine for the 2 months that we are gonna have it up, or 3 months that we'll have it up. Unless we wanna figure out a way to water it.
You could put a 5-gallon bucket around the thing maybe, and then.
Yeah, because when it's dry, it's gonna lose those needles really quick. I don't see it lasting 2 months.
All right, well, we've got
You're ingenious, you can come up with something.
Yeah, I'll end up welding something that'll become a permanent fixture that needs to be cemented in place, and then I'll need to get a permit and go to the building or to the planning commission.
No motorcycle frames.
Yeah, so anyway, we've got the for this year at least, we've got the tree figured out. If you guys want to take that tree, we'd be happy to donate it and get it moved here, and then maybe some help. I would think we would want this done like November 1st so that they can have it decorated for December 1st, right? And I think Anna, are you leading the decoration?
If everything goes all right, I'd like to help.
Yeah, I think so. I think the LBA usually gets, like St. John's the kids came over and brought some decorations last year and they kind of made a, what's that?
The LBA did not do that.
Oh,
Or
was
the
that you?
Maine did.
That was you? Cars on Main? Okay. Sorry, correction. Cars on Main. Got the kids over here. I know that Jan has typically, I think, coordinated a lot of those types of events. I know that she has provided decorations and funding for lighting Which I did have cut and go removed from the other tree before they took it down, so. Jan, do you know, are those all in the garage out here?
Decoration.
The lights that I had them
I
take off
have
of
no
this tree?
idea what happened. $1,200 goes for what?
They are back in the garage in containers.
Excellent. So we have plenty of lights for a tree this size.
How tall is your tree about?
It's about 15 feet.
Okay,
I'd say it's probably about 6 or 8 feet around at the base.
Along those same lines, I talked to Ideal about bringing in a tree. Their proposal was to bring in a tree, a 20-footer, fully decorated and lit for the months of December and January. They would bring it in, put it in the ground, come in, take it out. Their cost would be $600 to us.
Pretty cheap.
That's cheap.
Okay. It's all done for us.
Wow.
Wow.
anything away.
Now we have an embarrassment of riches at our disposal.
Yeah, for $600 and I don't have to build a stand. It won't work, and I'll have to build it again. And the windows out. But they-
Yeah, and then we could use all the other lights for the maybe Village Hall or some other stuff or.
Would they be able to get it here in November? So we can have it by December 1st?
Ryan, I don't know if you heard Amy's question, but she had asked if they would be able to have it here like late November before. So that December 1st for the tree lighting would be, ready to go.
Are you talking the one from Ideal?
Yes.
Yeah, they can bring it in basically anytime we would want them to do it.
Okay.
We'll just have to give them the notification, yes.
Sure. And that might be a better idea because then they can engineer a stand that's gonna be for that tree. We don't have to worry about it being anchored. Figure out if we gotta water it, whatever. It's,
Yeah,
That's
it's
what,
a one shop thing, and they bring it in, lit, decorated the whole 9 yards, and they come and remove the whole thing at the end of the season.
yeah.
that's awesome. That was, I know when I was speaking with Jeff Watts from the Lions and he had mentioned them as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you for reaching out to them.
Great. Yeah.
So who would you be willing to facilitate the coordination of that then as well? I know you've got a lot of other things that you're working on and you're not feeling well, but.
The beautification.
Yeah, I
committee
can
would-
do that. Yeah, I'll get a hold of him tomorrow and clarify everything just the same as I was gonna do it with snow patrol tomorrow too.
That sounds like a pretty appealing option, to be honest.
Where would the money come from? Would you want to use some of that money we put aside from the ARPA funds specifically for decorations? Or would that be general budget or?
Well, I think there's some options there. I think probably there is funding and there is a fund that Brent has, she's not here, but for building maintenance, beautification facility type stuff. I know that the Lions also had mentioned possibly assisting with something. So I think we have a couple different options. Unfortunately, it's not a significant amount, but we should start thinking about what we want to do long-term as a solution for this situation. And at least keep this in mind as we move into our budgeting process in the next couple of weeks here. Once those meetings are, we should probably set aside a fund for this event and dedicate some funding to it in the budget so that we don't have to find places to scrape.
As long as we can get this done before waiting for another meeting for some vote that needs to be taken, as long as we can get it going this meeting, right? Okay,
Sounds to me like we could.
excellent.
Motion.
I'll make a motion that we go through Ideal Property Management to get the $600 tree.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to go through ideal, landscaping as, presented by Mr. Nellis. For a price of approximately $600. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. You have a solution officially. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your offer, Colleen.
It'll be 20 feet next year.
I'll look for both people.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, keep watering it and tell those other trees to live, so they don't damage our Christmas tree. Item 17, discussion and possible action on pay application for Benton Construction for Custer Lane reconstruction. Ben, do you want to run it real quick?
Not a lot to it. The amount due this application is $241,859.58. Still holding back $45,403.21 in retainage.
We have any outstanding issues?
You know, I was scratching my head about that myself. I don't know what remains on the Custer Lane Road reconstruction.
Did all of the additional signage that the county wanted get done?
I do not know.
For the trail? Ron, do you have any idea?
No, I don't.
So I know the county came back and said they had all these additional requirements. They wanted signage down where that new trail met the bug line, I believe.
Ben, would this be our last pay application for this project, or do they have another one yet coming?
I would expect there's another one coming, if for nothing else, to release the retainage.
So I mean, even if there wasn't anything, we still have the retainage there that would take care of any signage issues that were outstanding or hadn't been taken care of. So
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we accept and pay the application for Benton in the amount of $241,859.58.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept the pay application for number 4 for Benton. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 18, discussion and possible action on quote for patching, crack filling of Good Hope Road. Ron, I think you want to talk us through this? I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but.
Yeah, we have we've had numerous complaints about the disrepair of Good Hope. We've got sewer boxes falling, broken concrete. The snowplow has hit the storm sewers and manhole covers numerous times this past year and caused upheaval and tearing up of the bases. We were putting it off and have put it off for a number of years. I talked with President Yates about this, and he confirmed to me that the repairs on this of these items on Good Hope would be ARPA fundable. So I reached out to 3 organizations. Payne and Dolan is the only one that came back and showed any interest. Their proposal is approximately $50,000. They've got the areas marked off in white paint on Good Hope if anyone wants to go take a look at it. And it's basically tearing them up and realigning the sewer drains and the stormwater intakes, and then repaving over the top, and then crack fill and seal the cracks down the middle and the edge of the roads.
Ron, is it possible Is it possible that we were talking about TID funding? Cause I don't recall discussing this being ARPA, an ARPA expense that we could do. I mean, this is a pretty significant dollar amount compared to what we received for ARPA funding.
I could be in error on that, but I believe we discussed and you came back to me saying with ARPA, but if it's TID funding, that's fine too, as long as it's fundable.
And
So TID can't go to fund for existing deficiencies, so to speak. If you were completely reconstructing it or something, it would be pretty cut and dry.
Right.
To be doing, I would categorize this as maintenance. I think it would be a harder. That would be blurring the line a little bit. I would suggest when the village has done this in the past. Sanitary has helped out, sanitary fund. Because it's like the manhole covers and the erosion around there, and that's where it kind of,
breaks down.
yes.
Yeah.
So there's been. When they're doing those adjustments, I don't know what percentage of this contract could. Be attributable to that, but. My understanding is the sewer fund has money and it's been used for that type of thing in the past.
I don't know if you heard any of that, Ron, but Ben was just mentioning that. Possibly in the past, we've used sewer funding to address this because it's generally around the manholes and things like that. Would you say that's in line with what your findings were here?
Pretty much so.
And that's primarily the complaints I've heard is either settling or heaving around the manholes where we've done previous
Right.
work as well, right? Yes,
Did you get 300,000 from Helpless for the repair of Good Hope Road? Where? I don't recall that.
as part of the
The Collie Farm agreement.
PUD.
But it was to repair Good Hope Road.
Yeah, it was specifically, the intent was to resurface it after they're done quarrying it.
Right.
You advance that to do some maintenance, there's not as much later. That's also rebuilding Good Hope Road is kind of also in the plan as a TID project someday.
Right.
Water main will go down that road someday. But it sounds like these repairs are needed before the winter.
Wonder if they have funded that account. You recall what this was where, I think that was for the conditional use permit. Oh, yeah, this is basic. Okay, so, I guess what we would probably want to do then, I'm assuming that timeliness is important here because we're running out of days.
Yeah, because they'll shut the asphalt plants down by November. Usually.
And they're wanting the work to be completed by October 15th, 2023, which gives us long. We gotta find the money for it.
Right, so I guess what I would suggest if we're gonna try to take some sort of action here that we can move forward on is that we construct a motion that allows some flexibility in terms of specific areas to identify the availability of the funding and make the motion condition or the approval conditional on being able to do that.
That's easy. All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the Payne and Dolan proposal for Good Hope Road crack patch repair in the amount of $49,950, contingent upon that we can find the funding for it.
Question I had was, again, Terms of payment shall be net on receipt of invoice. Is that negotiable?
Yeah, I think they're pretty.
They're not
They're
gonna,
gonna be very familiar with working with municipalities that have to go through a finance committee approval process, you know, they're.
Okay.
I would think that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
That would be kind of understood. Any other questions?
I recommend that every effort be made to schedule this project because they have basically 3 mobilizations. Track and milling and maybe
So I will check with Brenda tomorrow to see what the status of the funding of that account is. If those funds are there, then I think that makes it a fairly straightforward process. So thank you for that reminder, Mr. Newman. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I recommend that a motion delegate authority to the village president to commit on locating the funds rather than coming
Sure.
back to the board.
then I'll amend my motion to include that we delegate the responsibility of this with President Yates to find the funding, and if so found, he has the authority to execute the proposal.
Do we have an amended motion and an amended second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Ron, for figuring that out. Discussion of possible action regarding pay application 11 or PTS contractors for the Custer Lane lift station construction.
You might recall that at last month's meeting, I mentioned. We had received pay apps 10 and 11, and we recommended payment of 10. But we were going to bring 11 back. They did agree to a reduced amount based on the percentage of electrical work they were claiming as complete. So this reflects the amount that we agreed to with the contractor. So I would recommend the board approve payment for $35,059.16.
I'll make a motion that we accept the pay application PTS in the amount of $35,059.16 for Custer Lane lift station.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to pay application 11 for PTS contractors. Item number 20, discussion and possible action on payment of the bills.
We'll make a motion that we pay the bills as submitted by Brenda.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills as submitted by the clerk. Any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, engineers report.
I did finally receive a landscape application submittal from Rock Point Village, so keep an eye out for that at the September Plan Commission meeting. Other than that, nothing to report unless there's any questions.
Attorney's report.
No specific report.
Item 23, president's report. I'll forego this tonight, given that we have some time to go here yet. Item 24, upon the duly made motion to proceed into a closed session, the court pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub G For the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body in respect to outstanding water bills accumulated by Land and Estates Manufactured Home Community at 20179 Westwood Hope Road. Additionally, there is, you should have treated someone to it. Item 25 is under the same statute. For the purpose of public properties and investing public funds or conducting a specified public business. Namely, to consider the potential sale of a village-owned lot located at LANB 00734520003. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons required to close session.
Make a motion to go to closed session.
To include both.
To include, yes, I'm sorry, to include both motions.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session for both items on the agenda, number 24 and 25. Roll call vote. Reed,
Yes.
Nalatolo Roby,
Yeah.
Alice,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Grenier,
Yes.
Lake,
Yes.
Yates, yes. I have handouts. He's right.
Jan, did you ever have like an account of what the total was for the car show?